half in the bag. Fuck movies.
What a fucking mess.
What are we gonna do about this Plinkett VCR situation?
Let's sit down and drink beer.
Okay.
So, what's the story with my VCR and DVD player?
What the hell are you talking about? Oh, right, that. Well, I'm working on the VCR.
And I'm working on the DVD player.
Whatever. Look, I gotta go start on my taxes. I think I'm gonna write you two off as pain in my ass.
Oh, now that's uncalled for, Mr. Plinkett. Repairing VCRs.
And DVD repair.
It's very complicated
It's
work.
very time-consuming stuff.
Time-consuming, complicated.
Well, let's add up these check stubs, find out exactly how much I've been paying you two over the last year for work you still haven't completed.
Hey, have you seen that new movie, Cabin in the Woods?
I have seen the new movie Cabin in the Woods. You want to talk about it?
Sure.
Hello? I'm thinking this thing doesn't take credit cards.
Sign says closed.
We're looking for, what's it called?
Tillerman Road.
Not to get you there, getting back. That's your concern.
Cabin in the Woods is a horror film about a cabin in the woods. 5 teenagers decide to vacation at this particular cabin and are soon tormented by evil and killed off one by one. If you think you've seen this premise before, it's because you have. 1 billion goddamn times. But Cabin in the Woods is well aware of that. As the nightmare unfolds, these kids discover that the threat they're dealing with may run deeper than they originally imagined. What did you think of Cabin in the Woods?
It was pretty good. No, I liked Cabin in the Woods a lot. It had just this weird-ass premise, and that was both a working point for me and a detriment at the same time.
Okay.
I really liked it. It comes off as one of those ideas that you come up with when you're smoking pot or you're drunk or something, that you wouldn't actually make. You know,
You know what would be a crazy idea for a movie? That kind of premise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if this, it'd be crazy if this really happened, or if this kind of thing happened.
Yeah.
And then later on, you're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Once you pick it apart, you're like, what?
Yeah. Because that was an element of the overall movie that didn't work for me. Most of it worked for me. Mostly all of it. I liked the premise. I liked the idea. I liked the characters and the execution of everything. But there's that little voice in my brain in the back that just kept saying, like, what?
Well, there's a lot of stuff in the movie that is either not explained properly or doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you really think about it and break it down.
Yeah.
But while you're watching the movie, it's a whole lot of fun. This is probably the most fun I've had watching a movie in a really long time.
We don't want to go into spoiler territory too much with it.
It's a tough movie to talk about without getting into spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, the ending is the whole setup for it. The premise is pretty much laid out from the get-go, and that was one of the problems I had. You liked it. I did to a degree.
I thought it was interesting to have, because you see the trailer and it's like, it's a horror movie, it's a cabin in the woods,
Yeah.
but there's more going on than what you could imagine.
Yeah.
And they give a lot away in that trailer. So I was expecting that to be a case in the movie where it's sort of a slow build-up and you slowly discover what is really happening. But it comes right out of the gate, and I almost admire that. Like, the first scene in the movie is these 2 guys in this, office, and they're having like this boring, mundane conversation, and it's like right up front. It's like, here's what's happening.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to they're in the middle of a discussion about child-proofing cabinets, and and then it just freeze frames, and the title of the movie comes up, and scary horror movie music comes on, and it made me laugh. Like that contrast made me laugh.
Yeah, at first it opens with typical horror movie credits, where it's like this blood is like seeping, and there's like credit names in the blood or whatever, and then it just like hard cuts right to these two guys, and like, Bob, you know, they're wearing ties and they're just working, and you're like, what the fuck? You know? And then it cuts to the title, and I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I seriously believe something weird is going on.
I appreciated the sarcastic way it opened, and I appreciated that sort of upfrontness, but it deflated most of the movie for me in terms of like building the tension and building everything up in the mystery. I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't, the movie's a lot of fun, and it's very clever and entertaining, but as a movie, I was just like, oh, okay, I get the premise, and there's more to the premise to discover later on, but the house is not just a cabin in the woods thing, there's something sinister going on underneath it, was really just totally deflated, and I was like, oh, okay.
See, that worked for me.
It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun.
No, see, that worked for me early on, like the cutting back and forth between the kids in the cabin and very sort of typical horror movie situations, and then the people behind the scenes. They're almost like an audience, like you watching the movie.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a less abstract version of the movie Rubber, which came out last year about a killer rubber tire. And there's an element in that movie of an audience watching the events of the tire unfold. It's a lot more abstract and a lot weirder. And this is a little more streamlined than that.
Yeah.
It's written by Joss Whedon, so it sometimes feels like it's almost too clever. Joss Whedon has a tendency of writing things that are clever to a detriment.
Yes.
You know you're watching a Joss Whedon-related project when all the characters have a funny quip or are a little too flippant given the gravity of the situation. That seems to be a running thing with his projects.
Yeah, and certain things it works. I am also a fan of Joss Whedon. I have not seen the Buffy or some of the other projects he's done.
There's a lot of diehard Joss Whedon fans.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Buffy or Angel or Dollhouse. I've seen Firefly, which I like a lot.
I've seen Firefly as well. I really like Firefly. I think it has the perfect balance of taking itself seriously enough, but still having the quips and the wit to it without kind of cracking that realism. And I think this just went too far. And I know it's a fun movie, and it's you know, but it seemed to ride the line between comedy and satire and actual horror. And obviously, you know, given the whole thing as a whole, it was satirical and it was essentially a comedy.
So it worked better as a comedy than as a horror movie. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, one way or the other kind of thing at a certain point, because I really liked the sort of day-to-day mundane conversations.
That was more interesting than the horror movie part of it.
Yeah.
But I did still like, as you know, someone who grew up with horror films, I love horror movies. There's a lot of stuff in the cabin parts of the movie that I still liked, just in like a fun B-movie kind of way. There's like redneck zombies and decapitated heads, and the one of the zombies guys has like a bear trap on a chain that he throws at people, and it's
lots
just
of
like
cool stuff, lots of cool ideas.
It's just
lots of cool dialogue.
Yeah, fun horror movie stuff.
Fun horror movie stuff, right?
What is that thing?
We have to stay together. This isn't right. We should split up.
Yeah, good idea.
Really?
Well, the first half of the movie has a lot of sort of deconstruction of horror films, horror film cliches, but at the same time, you're seeing the mechanics of it and the two guys behind the scenes that are sort of orchestrating everything and commenting on those typical genre elements. But about halfway through the movie, once the characters figure out what's going on, it just becomes more of a straighter story.
Yeah.
Where those two sides sort of converge into one story.
And then the story takes a pretty big turn.
Well, it gets a lot goofier and it goes a lot farther than I would have expected, which I appreciated. That sort of, it's almost an element of anarchy to it.
It was an interesting idea. I'll put it that way. It was an interesting idea. It didn't make a lick of sense.
No, when you really break it down.
That is a small problem In this movie, in other movies, it's a big problem. In this movie, it's a very small problem. And this is where we say spoilers. Skip to the end.
Skip to this time code to skip spoilers.
But the premise is that they're appeasing the ancient evil gods that are supposedly, they don't say they're demons or it's Satan, they just say the ancient earth gods.
Yeah.
Presumably evil monsters of some kind, need to have human sacrifices. And this is the modern day equivalent of human sacrificing to appease gods that has gone on throughout time. Now it's more underground and less out in the open.
And more complicated.
And that's the thing, it's like, it's sort of I guess it's a form of entertainment for the gods, but they don't really specify. And I'm like, why not just round up these 5 people and put them in a room and just execute them one at a time and let their blood drain into the things?
Yeah.
And why do we have to do the whole horror movie thing? Why do they have to make choices? Our particular corner of the earth, our particular sector that appeases these gods, that just happen to be under where the cabin in the woods is, which happens to be where they built the base, in some corner of America, presumably.
Yeah.
They want, the 5 character types that typically appear in horror movies: the whore, the virgin, the bookworm, the jock, the athlete, and the fool.
Yeah.
The 5 characters, and they want their blood, and then they die. But they show different facilities around the world. One in Japan, and they show like 20 or so Japanese schoolgirls.
Yeah.
It's obviously a play on the J. What do they call J horror? The Japanese horror genre?
No, they call it J-horror. J-horror is the character on the Jersey Shore.
Oh, like Buki. So the question then comes up, are there different gods, or is it the same god, but that same god wants 19 Japanese schoolgirl blood, and this god wants 5 American teenager blood, and it's like, what?
Yeah,
What?
I was under the impression that it was one god, and it was just all these countries
And that
sort
one
of
god-
seeing which
yeah.
which one could appease the god first.
But why all the ritual with the horror movie genre on top of that?
And why, because they have all the creatures kind of harnessed, they have little cages for
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And the decisions the characters in the cabins make determines which creature sort of
Yeah.
attacks them and terrorizes them. But like, why are there all these horror movie creatures? Why are there all these monsters? Are the gods this specific about?
Yes, right.
Do they have like a book, like an instructional manual of,
Yeah.
this is how I want to be appeased?
The fantastical idea about the gods being appeased and human sacrifice and all that is a cool idea, but it doesn't exactly fit with, it's like 2 puzzle pieces that kind of fit,
Yeah.
and you kind of jam them together. It's clever, don't get me wrong, and I really liked, a lot of the stuff in the end, but it does come off as an idea that 2 guys thought of while they were smoking pot, and then when their brains cleared, and you go, what? Fuck it, let's just make it. and that's fine, because you don't really see movies that come out without the filter.
You almost appreciate that
Yeah.
that level of commitment to doing an idea that's this goofy.
Yeah.
Oh, what time is it?
Well, it was nap time. Oh, but now it's lunchtime.
Oh, goody, then it's more beer time.
It's time to eat lunch. So, what do you want for lunch today?
Pizza?
Mac and cheese?
Bangers and mash?
Cupcakes.
Pasta and sea turtles?
Powdered sugar pies.
Sausage gravy biscuits?
Pork burgers.
Another comical food?
No. What about fried chicken?
Ooh, hot damn.
Yeah. And you know where we can get it from? Chunky's Chicken! It's Chunky's chicken time.
Hot damn, I love me some Chunky's chicken.
So delicious, so fresh, so crisp.
It's where I go for all of my chicken needs.
Yeah, and it's so easy. You can order online too at chunkieschicken.com.
Is that chunkieschicken.com?
Chunkieschicken.com, that's what I said, Jay. They'll even deliver chicken to your face. Which delicious piece would you like, Jay?
I'm gonna try this one.
Oh, I think I'll go with this piece. But all of them are equally delicious. You know, Jay, sometimes our antics remind me of the Three Stooges. Plinkett would be Moe, Larry, and Curly, and we'd be the guys behind the scenes making all the money.
Hey, speaking of the Three Stooges,
Yeah.
have you seen the Three Stooges?
It was a blessed day when through these hallowed gates a stranger rode and delivered unto them a miracle.
The Three Stooges is the new film called The Three Stooges. It was made by the Farrelly brothers, who've had a string of hit comedies like There's Something About Mary,
What is that gadget?
This is an iPhone.
iPhone.
Uh-huh.
Hello? Hello? There's nobody there.
Well, Jay, what did you think of The Three Stooges?
I think it was definitely a Three Stooges movie. Its goal seemed to be to replicate the style and tone of those old Three Stooges shorts. It accomplishes that. The actors are very good at impersonating other actors, and whatever its overall goal was, it seems to have accomplished. I think I laughed like 3 times.
Yes, I will agree with you. This was a Three Stooges film. It was a Three Stooges feature-length film. And there was a lot of, when the trailer for this came out, there was a lot of hubbaloo. There was a lot of controversy on the internet where everyone was angry.
Everybody was horribly upset, and this movie will tarnish the legacy of the Three Stooges. It's raping this important national treasure.
And let me just say this, there's a lot of things to get upset about. This is not one of them. Somebody ruining Star Wars is something to get upset about. There's a lot of other things in the movie realm we're talking. There is, of course, you know, child slave labor, rape. It doesn't feel like Hollywood's just taking the old Three Stooges name and just trying to rape it and make money and move on.
Yeah.
Because the Farrelly brothers, I guess, have been trying to make this movie for a really long time.
It's been a passion project of theirs.
Yeah, they're obviously slapstick, lowbrow comedian types that make movies like that. So it doesn't take a genius to make the connection that they were probably influenced or, you know, inspired by the Three Stooges. So they want to make a movie that pays homage to them. Whatever. But the little kind of weird thing is that it's not technically a remake. It's almost impersonations.
Well, that's the weirdest aspect of it to me, is that it's not like you take a movie where there's a character and you make a movie where you cast someone else as that character, like James Bond or something like that. Like the Three Stooges were real people, they were real performers. They started out in vaudeville, started making movies, and that was them that you were watching. So to watch someone do an impersonation of them now, it's like seeing an Elvis impersonator, or in 70 years if someone decides to make a new Ernest movie and cast somebody else that is really good at impersonating Ernest, you know?
Yeah, it's their shtick, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not just a character,
Yeah.
it's a performance by a real person.
Mind your P's and Q's. Don't forget to dot the I's.
And that's another thing that is an issue with this movie is does the style of humor carry over into 2012? Probably not.
Well, it's kind of like George Lucas talking about Red Tails and wanting to make a movie in the style of those old World War II propaganda films.
Yeah.
As we said with that review, there's a reason they don't make movies like that anymore.
True.
Movies are so different, and comedy is so different than where it was at that point.
Three Stooges is not highbrow entertainment, and that's why, this doesn't bother me.
Yeah, well, I was never a fan of the Three Stooges. Like, even as a little kid, it just didn't really appeal to me. So this movie does that in the same style, in the same spirit. Yeah. It is what it is.
I like the Three Stooges. I'm not a huge fan. I like what they do. I think it's funny. And this does it really well. The people that they have to impersonate them are really great.
They do a good job of acting like other actors.
And I guess that's what you're paying to see.
You'll get it.
You could just watch the trailer. Do you remember when they made that Brady Bunch movie? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's kind of like a comparison we should make here. Is like they took the Brady Bunch movie and they said, well, let's make the Brady Bunch movie, okay? But let's not have it be corny and cheesy with the bad jokes from the 70s. Let's throw them in the 90s and have them be fish out of water jokes. Yeah. And they're sort of poking fun at the Bradys. And that's kind of, there's parts in this movie that were like that worked for me. That was a lot of the humor came from
There's
that.
a couple little parts, like the bit with the iPhone and things like that.
Yeah, there's one part where the guy's like, he sees Larry and his hair, and he looks at it and he's like, are you wanting to file a lawsuit against Supercuts? And I laugh. Because,
I laugh.
Because he's like, what?
Yeah, but like this Brady Bunch movie where there's, it's sort of, I don't know if I would call it cynical, but there is that sort of poking fun at that. And this movie, the actual humor of the Three Stooges is played completely straight.
Yeah.
But it's very bizarre because they're still talking like people from the 30s. They dress in old-timey clothes, and there's that clash that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. The majority of it is them falling back to the classic Three Stooges bits and them going from scene to scene, getting into those scenarios, which are like, them as carpenters, them as doctors, them at a fancy party, them as plumbers. It's always some sort of profession or them, doing something like that. So they find ways within the script to work them into all those scenarios. But those are the old scenarios that we've all seen and done. Like, got it, they can't fix a roof. Like, we've seen that.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen Mo on the Jersey Shore slapping people.
Hiya, Snook. I got your present.
Really?
Yeah, go on, open it.
The Jersey Shore thing came out of a place like, I would imagine that was not a decision made by the Farrelly brothers. That was a decision made by someone that's not creative in the film world. And it's completely out of place with the rest of the movie.
Right. It's that they looked at the demographics and they go, little kids will probably like this, the elderly will like this, but the 18 to 35 demo won't.
Yeah. You got to put Snooki in it.
They'll say, oh, well, Snooki's in it. Okay, maybe I'll go see this.
This little light of mine. Hey guys! Yeah!
Oh, hiya, Sister Bernice.
There's something different about you. Did you get a haircut?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it well enough. I laughed a couple of times. I laughed quite a bit, actually. More than I want to admit.
I laughed 3 times. I remember counting 3 times that I laughed, and I don't even remember 2 of them now, but I remember the one. This movie is wonderfully violent,
yes.
You should mention.
Yes.
There's an unapologetic quality to the violence and the slapstick until the very end, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But not politically correct, but also not vulgar. Just sort of joyously cartoony.
Yeah.
And there's a part where they're in a hospital through a series of shenanigans. They end up having to change the diapers of all these babies in the maternity ward. Yeah, so the Three Stooges start aiming the babies' piss at each other, and then they're treating it like they're guns, and at one point, one of them says, "Kick it over here," like a gun, and they kick a baby across the floor. And that was the only part that I really laughed at.
They also fire a shotgun at a little girl.
And they fire a shotgun at a little girl, yeah. And endanger the lives of animals.
Well, there's a lot of animal abuse in this movie, in addition to all the violence, attempted murder, kicking babies, shooting shotguns at little girls.
Yes.
But there's a lot of abuse towards animals. There's a scene where they're trying to sell a whole bunch of fish on a golf course, and they don't know that they have to be in water, and they're watering them, and they're all dying.
That actually looks like something out of an experimental film more than a slapstick comedy, where there's just this field of fish flopping around. It's
like
very odd.
Like a Pink Floyd album cover.
Yeah.
But then, and then there's a lion that's chained up and it can't reach the sky, and he's like smacking it in the face. And then there's this other part where they're at the zoo, and Curly shoots a peanut into the blowhole of Dolph Lundgren, and then they jump in the water and they're trying to do the Heimlich, and they're trying to get the peanut out of Dolph Lundgren's blowhole.
That wasn't Dolph Lundgren. That was a dolphin.
Oh, well, what's the difference?
A dolphin is a better actor.
Oh.
All right, come on, guys, don't do this. If I don't get breakfast, I get real grumpy. I don't think you like me grumpy. So.
But anyways, it's nice that they didn't water down the old style of cartoony slapstick, because there's a part where a guy gets run over by a bus.
Yeah.
And then they go to try and kill him in the hospital. He hides inside his body cast, and they throw dynamite inside it. And
there's another guy in the room that's in a cast that they used to prop the door closed. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, people get hurt, things explode, and it's all cartoony, and it's all the old style of Three Stooges, done in the modern day times, which is wonderful that they didn't like pussy out and just do a couple of slaps and then the rest of it just do like visual gags or something.
Yeah.
They went full on with the way that the Three Stooges used to do their shtick, which was nice. But the whole time my mind's thinking lawsuits, 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 and of course, right as the credits roll, we get a disclaimer.
Yes.
Where there's two guys, they're pretending to be the Fairley brothers for some reason, but they're saying basically, yeah, we hit each other with rubber mallets and rubber hammers, and when we poke each other, it's right here. You know, kids, don't do this at home.
Don't try these stunts at home, kids.
And then I went...
That was the part of the movie where I was like, fuck you. It's a shame that comedy has to come with a disclaimer now.
Especially the Three fucking Stooges.
Yes.
You got any dynamite?
But yeah, the movie as a whole, what'd you think?
I didn't enjoy it personally, but I admired it, I guess, as far as its commitment to what it was trying to do. I just think what it was trying to do was completely pointless.
Yeah. I would recommend it if you're slightly curious about, you know, seeing these guys do the Three Stooges bits. If you like that stuff, they did a really good job at that, you know. But like I said, you could watch that in the trailer. Some parts were stupid, but it didn't go over the stupid limit for me. Not like a Jack and Jill did, and it felt more genuine, like they wanted to make this movie as opposed to an Adam Sandler.
That's the big difference.
Project where it's just like a vehicle for money. It's just like a horror machine. What would have been great is the Three Stooges, the actors from the 30s, like they get transported to the future, and they're just like miserable people trying to find work, and it's this horribly depressing movie. They don't even play the Three Stooges. They're just like, "What's a computer? Can I act in the picture business again?"
Oh,
you know?
That's sad.
And then they just end up like drinking themselves to death.
Oh.
It'll be called the Three Stooges.
The Three Stooges.
Would you like any more chicken, Jay?
No, I'm full.
Yeah, me too.
Mike, what are you doing?
I'm throwing chicken away from myself.
Now we've got to clean that up.
Just leave it there. This place is a fucking mess. Plinkett doesn't notice any of this stuff. He's blind, and old, and stupid. Just look at all the stuff we've gotten away with over this past year. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Look, guys, I've got to leave for a while. I need to figure some things out. I'll be back.
There's certainly a deadly earnestness in his voice.
Is this what they call a cliffhanger?
Yes.